to another edition of Thunderdome!
Welcome to the Mad Max Minute, where this little piggy went to market and this little piggy stayed home to watch Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome 1 minute at a time. I'm Rick.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're talking about minute 76, which begins with Eddie sneaking up on the casting call for the movie Babe, and it ends with Ironbar catching sight of Scrooloose. Joining us this week are Professor Christy Porter and Gerry Porter from the Indiana Jones Minute.
Hey, guys.
Hi, everybody.
I'm very happy to be here.
It is such a great thing that you two are both on representing the Porter clan. I think the only way this could have been better is if we had gotten my other friend Porter, Nate Porter, no relation, to show up for this and just make it a Porter-palooza.
That would have been fun.
Maybe a very distant relation.
That would have been fun.
Luckily, we're not too concerned with who's related to who in a post-apocalypse, because the most important relationship is between a wastelander and their vehicle. And I say that despite the fact that there are no vehicles in this minute. So what are you going to do? My transitions are famously terrible. So we might as well just get right into talking about pigs.
See, I think there is a relationship here. I think Pig Killer looks at who's the young little buck? Eddie?
Eddie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's his son.
What? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. You guys didn't catch that?
I could go for that.
No.
I mean, I don't mean to start things off all screw loose and shaky here, but that's his son, right?
I'm going to need some evidence.
He says at the beginning, you know, that he was trying to feed his his kids, right? And that's why he wound up being imprisoned. Is he killed a pig, but he did it to feed his family. And I think that's what's so fantastic about this little deranged meeting, or should I say reunion.
Oh, I don't know.
That was one of the theories we had when we first met Pig Killer, this whole idea of maybe the kids that he had to feed are the waiting ones, and he wandered away from them and went to get crazy with the sun or something like that.
Well, then they would all be there?
See, that's the universe calling right now to tell me I'm right. That's no. I actually think they share a knowing, like they share this smile together. And Pig Killer points at Eddie, and he smiles, and with his eyes, he says, "Son."
Now, it's interesting that you bring it from that angle, because Julia was reading in the novelization, and there's actually more in the book to this scene than just knowing glances and smiles.
Yes, I really don't like this moment. It's odd. It's out of character for Pig Killer to be so nonverbal. I wouldn't call him a well-spoken person, but he does more than grunt and point in other times that we've met him. So I thought that this was out of character. But in the screenplay, Eddie walks up to Pig Killer and asks if he is Captain Walker, because Eddie is still looking for Captain Walker. So he sees another adult and says, "Hey, are you Captain Walker?" In not so many words, of course, because he's like 5 years old. And then, let me jump back to it. And then Pig Killer asks him, "Where did you spring from?" And Eddie replies, "Planet Earth." Which is the kids, that's their idea of how they were born, is they were just born from the Earth.
Which is an idea I just love. Love that idea.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunately false, because he's sprung from Pig Killer's loins.
Ah!
No, I just watched the minute again. I'm watching that look right now, and I am not arguing with you, Julia, here, but I think what is indicative of is we've caught Pig Killer, an otherwise loquacious individual, and he is speechless right here.
Okay.
And I think if you watch, Eddie looks, and he has a little furrowed brow, as furrowed a brow as you've ever seen on a 5-year-old, and you know, Pig Killer looks up, and all he does is point, and he goes, like, I can't believe it's you. But because Pig Killer, let's be clear, Pig Killer's kind of a couple of, fries short of a Happy Meal.
Oh, definitely.
That's all he can do. Like, he's not like, oh my God, son, that would be out of character. He's kind of like, ha, what are the chances?
Yeah, you're right.
Like, he's kind of the wonderful, crazy variable. He even says, like, later on, there he's like, okay, what's the plan? And he's like, plan? There's no plan.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that he's crazy. And I can get behind him being part of the Waiting Ones previously and having taken a leaving, being separated from the group somehow, probably falling behind during the trek through the desert and being left behind and going insane from the sun and ending up in Bartertown. I think that's an incredibly plausible hypothesis.
That's possibly the saddest thing I've ever heard. I mean, you could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. But that's so sad.
Oh, then you are lucky you are with us for these minutes and not the previous few minutes. Because there's a storyline that was dropped from the movie about one of the Waiting Ones who doesn't make it through the nothing.
Oh, no.
Who is left behind because he's injured. He gets left out in the sun. He goes mad. And he dies right before they make it to Bartertown.
Oh, my goodness.
It's really sad.
That's really sad. I'm glad they left it out. Holy cow.
And Julia was right about you just barely missing it, because that was last week's content.
Yeah.
If you're trying to
Right.
provide for your family, and you're caught killing a pig to feed your family, and it's tough times. It's let's say post-apocalyptic nuclear summer season, then the fact that you are sentenced to death, or I think he says the big one, right? Life imprisonment.
Yeah.
That might be enough to make you go mad.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that he was always crazy.
I think he was already 3 sheets to the wind as far as insanity goes before they threw him in the pig pit. And this just sailed home for him.
Put him over the edge.
Exactly.
But that's what's, again, look at how remarkably calm he is here. And I'm looking at young little Eddie's face right now, and he has a real genuine smile. I'd even say a fondness for Pig Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I recognize him.
I do find it funny that as we come up on this scene, that the man who's been branded Pig Killer is there watching over the piglets and stroking one of them to calm it as it's sitting there suckling.
Now,
It's funny you say that because in my notes, before I read this section of the screenplay, my question was, is he there tending to the young and vulnerable, or is he there plotting his next move to take the piglet because it is vulnerable? But then I read the screenplay and he's absolutely taking care of the piglet.
Oh, good.
Yes, in the screenplay, the piglet is an orphan and he is feeding it. So it's even better, it's even nicer.
I feel much better about that.
well, you mean like an orphan like Eddie?
Exactly like Eddie.
I think, look, George
Miller.
knows what's going on here. I think he's actually having Pig Killer tend to the pigs. And this is the first time that I recall seeing a piglet, is because you're just bolstering my theory that it's his son. I don't mean to beat a dead pig here, but
It's a live pig.
Right. You wouldn't expect it, but pigs actually have very complex nursing and suckling behaviors. I'm reading off of the Wikipedia page. Don't think I know all this stuff off the top of my head. But nursing occurs every 50 to 60 minutes, so they have to eat on the hour, and the sow requires stimulation from the piglets before milk let down. So the piglets want to eat. They have to go up to the mom and let her know that they're ready for it before she will allow the milk to flow. And there is a bit of a competition for teats. The teat order denotes a hierarchy. It starts forming at a very early age, and certain pigs in the litter will push towards a certain teat, and if there is a little orphaned piglet, oftentimes there aren't going to be open teats for it to suckle at, which is why Pig Killer has to feed one by hand.
So, I can't believe I'm asking these questions. Are some teats better producers than others? Like, if they're closer to the source, then they have a better flow?
According to what I'm reading, the anterior teats produce a greater quantity of milk. So
Those are the outside ones, right?
Which teat you're
Anterior?
at determines how much milk you get.
Okay. Which determines your size, which determines your strength to get the best teats.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, that's the saddest story I've ever heard.
This has been quite an education so far.
Well, we haven't really talked that much about pigs. Like, we talked about how many there were and, you know, the noise and the trouble of having that many pigs,
filming with them.
we haven't actually talked about the pigs themselves. For instance, their Latin name is Sus scrofa domesticus, or just Sus domesticus for the domestic pig. They're often called swine, hogs, or simply pigs when there is no need to be distinguishing. They are large, even-toed ungulates, and the common pig is variously considered a subspecies of the wild boar. The pig's head plus body length ranges from 0.9 to 1.8 meters, so like 35 to 71 inches, and the adult can weigh between 50 and 350 kilograms, which in imperial is 110 and 770 pounds.
Wow.
Those are big pigs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, I'm already, like, scared of pigs because I know how vicious they can be, but that makes me even more frightened that they could be up to 700 pounds.
Up to 700 pounds and almost 6 feet long.
Wow.
So imagine me lying on the ground and a 770 pound pig lying on the ground next to me, my exact length.
That's not okay.
No, Julia. It's not.
Yeah. Imagine the teats.
Good point.
I have a buddy of mine who has a pet pig
On purpose?
named, yeah. So they have a pet pig named Sir Francis Bacon.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What's surprising is that pigs can be very expressive and have a lot of personality and be very gentle when they're raised to be that way. I think most of the time you get these situations like you have 400 pigs stuffed into a room and their only point in life is to eat, poop, and produce methane from that poop. And I'm pretty sure if cows produce a lot of methane by burping, pigs probably do the same.
True.
Yeah. Well, and they're also usurpers, government usurpers, if you ever read Animal Farm. They did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you think that there was a reason they took the pigs in this movie? Like, is there something symbolic about the pigs specifically?
Well, yeah, I think Julia just, Rick and Julia just said so. It's all about the hierarchy. It's all about, it's a dog-eat-dog, pig, suckle, teat world over there. So just like there are people in charge and then other people who are not in charge. There's a social hierarchy for the humans in this movie and for the pigs and for the sucklings. Absolutely.
And it's grab the anterior teat all you can.
Yeah.
Auntie and Ironbar and the Collector, they're the ones that went right for the anterior teat, and they're leaving the other ones.
Posterior.
The posterior teats for people like Max and Jedediah the pilot and all of the
Low-ranking.
the low-life people, low-ranking people that are struggling out in the wasteland.
Is Auntie a good governess?
That is something that we've discussed kind of at length.
Yeah.
And I think the answer is sort of.
I mean, is she a despot?
I'd say so.
Yeah, I think she could be classified as such.
But they do seem to have rules and law that, I guess she sort of bends a little bit, but she does seem to be beholden to them.
No, that's a fig leaf.
That's a fig leaf.
Or a pig leaf, for that matter. She's not at all governed by laws. Everybody is out for themselves. The whole trilogy's like this. No.
Yeah, I think what Auntie has succeeded in doing is forming a small network of control, but it's more like a house of sticks. Mm-hmm. It's not a house of straw. It's not going to fall down at the slightest breeze.
Yeah.
And it's not a house of bricks that's going to stand up to the big bad wolf. It's more a house of sticks.
Yeah, it's going to last a little bit longer. The whole Thunderdome system, it's good for now, but I'm not sure it can really hold up to much scrutiny before it's going to fall apart.
Which is a lot like the Road Warrior was the same with Gastown. It was basically it's good for now.
Yeah.
But this isn't our end goal.
Yeah. And the biggest difference is that Auntie thinks this is her end goal, even though the system she's created isn't sustainable over a long period of time. And something that we've discussed before is that she has not set up the next generation of leadership. Once she and Ironbar and Dr. Dealgood and the Collector die, there's nobody to continue this on, and that's a major failing.
Yeah, so they can dance around and sing Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf all they want, but eventually, and I think Max is the wolf in this instance, just to keep the metaphor going of the three little pigs, situations will arise where huffing and puffing will take place, and in the end, a lot of this just gets blown down.
Well, the fascinating thing about Auntie is that what we learn, I think the most interesting thing is what we learn is before this, the whole apocalypse, she was a nobody. Mm-hmm. And the wheel of chance, I guess in her case, the wheel of fortune, smiled upon her. And now she's, she certainly thinks that she's better off post-apocalypse than she was pre-apocalypse.
Yeah, she definitely had her head about her and was probably just in the right place at the right time to find something or take advantage of something. We've been saying this, since the beginning, that of all of the anthology-style movies set in the Mad Max world, we would love to see an Auntie-Entity explanation movie.
Oh,
yeah.
That's interesting, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. Of course, I'd watch Auntie in any time doing anything, even as in a nobody.
Yeah.
I think she's very compelling.
Yes, she is. And we've spent so much time discussing her, and I think we still have only scraped the surface of her existence.
Oh, yeah. People like to laugh, it's just Tina Turner in a wig.
No.
Ha ha ha.
No.
But no.
No. Even Tina Turner in a wig. I'm still in love with her.
Yeah.
Tina Turner.
I wanted a little more oomph from her.
What?
I don't mean to say that. I actually think she's really good. I think she's really good.
Yeah, show some respect over there.
I didn't think she was great. I thought she was really, really cool and really good. I don't know why. I was looking for a little bit more.
Well, speaking of a little bit more, we leave Eddie and Pig Killer behind. They're over there in the pig nursery. We have someone else here in Underworld that we need to catch up with, and that's specifically Scrooloose, who has found a place in the upper pipes above the main, I guess, truck vehicle generator thing. I still don't know what to call it, but he's hiding up there in the pipes, and he's watching the guards that have assembled play this little arm wrestling game.
I'm fascinated with Scrooloose and his ability to consistently position himself up and away from everybody else. He just got here. He does not know the lay of the land. The first place he goes is up high and away from everybody else so he can watch but not be part of them.
Interesting.
And of course, Scrooloose isn't alone. He also has Copilot with him.
Oh, that's right.
Copilot is, of course, the monkey.
Why does he disobey Max or Mr. Walker?
Because Max has been pushed. He pushed himself. He jumped from the pillar that is Captain Walker. And if he's not Captain Walker, then he's nobody.
Oh, is that why Scrooloose is kind of just off on his own doing whatever?
Yes. All of the kids were told to wait. I can't remember if it was just outside the pipe or just inside the pipe, but they were supposed to wait for him. And by the time he gets there, they have all scattered to the wind, and he has no idea where they are.
Well, he is running around with a bunch of kids.
Exactly.
Right.
And Max is doing that thing that when you've got to watch over a bunch of kids, he's doing that thing where he's looking at Scrooloose and Scrooloose is waving like, yeah, come on out of the pipe. It's great out here. And Max is trying to wave him and saying, no, stay hidden. Don't reveal yourself. And Scrooloose is waving and moving around so much that he jostles Copilot, and Copilot lets out these little monkey noises, which of course attracts the attention of the guards, which is not good.
Not good.
But what is good, what is so good, is the expression on Ironbar's face when he hears the monkey, gets confused, looks up and sees a child, and that quizzical look that crosses his face. It almost contorts his entire visage.
Yeah.
Because he hears monkey, he sees child, and neither of those things should be an underworld.
Well, I would argue that the monkey should be an underworld.
But did Ironbar know that Blaster had the monkey before the Thunderdome fight?
Yeah, that's a good point. Did he really know that the monkey belonged in Underworld? Probably not.
Yeah.
So, okay, I rescind my criticism.
Okay.
I did not understand why Max and the kids need to return to Bartertown. Like, I didn't. Is it because?
Where else are they going to go?
Well, that was kind of his thing. Is where else are they going to go? But like, I wasn't sure why Max is like, I know what we need to do now. We need to get this master guy.
It's not very well explained.
We supposed that Max looked at the situation and said, you know what? I feel like I could find Master and cut some sort of deal with him. Basically approach him and say, hey, I could have killed Blaster, but I didn't. I spared him when you asked me to. The only reason Blaster's dead is because Ironbar killed him.
Right.
So he was probably hoping, hey, we need food, water, Master, give us those things, because last I knew, you were in charge in Underworld.
All right.
Is okay. That's why they are going, because to get back to the Oasis is too far without food and water. Is that what it is?
Hey, that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Huh. So so why don't they just scavenge for the food and water for, enough for like 2 or 3 days? He comes up with this grand plan that, of course, is pretty risky because Max seems to dig the Oasis, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, you guys don't need to go anywhere. This is cool.
Yeah, he's very keen to stay there.
He's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know how well you have it.
Right.
He's like, there's nothing out there. And they're like, Tomorrowland. He's like, nah, forget it. This is it.
Right.
Do you think he is out to collect Master and supplies and take Master with them back to the Oasis?
I have absolutely no idea why Master is in the second half of this movie.
I think mostly it's a plot device so that we can get the two groups of people to fight over him.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is, which is kind of cool, in a way, but all of these adult figures are morally ambiguous. Like, Max obviously isn't really, he's just out to, grab the interior teat. He's kind of like, who do I have to kill to get my camels back? Mm-hmm. And whatever the answer is, I'm cool with. And then, of course, I don't know Master's background, but when you find out he's kind of using this guy who's mentally challenged here as the muscle.
Yeah.
It's kind of you're like, that guy's not exactly a good guy. I suppose an argument could be made. Maybe you're like, well, the guy was going, he needed sort of a bodyguard to keep Blaster out of trouble or something like that. He wasn't going to survive, obviously. So Master kind of just said, do what I do and you'll live and I'll take care of you. I don't know. It's strange. Nobody is really a good guy.
Well, no, nobody's ever a good guy. No.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I like that. Except I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm surprised Master is the guy that they're looking for. Like that they're like, hey, we got to rescue that guy.
I'm not sure why Max went after Master to begin with. I think it was a good plan because Master knows a lot of things. He's very smart. He knows how to build things. He seems to be talented in an engineer sort of way. And for the waiting ones back in the crack in the earth, they could use somebody like that. They live a very primitive life. And if they had somebody who could take those primitive elements and add some maybe quality of life to that, that would make for a much more comfortable existence for Max, who is perfectly happy living out the rest of his life in the crack in the earth. But when that plan came about is a complete mystery. They went to Bartertown because they had to save their lives. They need food and water. I guess they went to Master because, Rick, like you said, Max has something on Master that he didn't kill Blaster. He chose not to when he could have. So he's the only person in Bartertown that Max has any kind of leverage with. And then the plan evolves into just plain kidnapping him?
Well, I think the kidnapping stems from Pig Killer acting with his own sense of, like, not a solid plan, a sense of a plan.
You're very right.
Pig
By
Killer
the end
has
of
a fun
this
idea.
week, Pig Killer kind of goes rogue.
Well, I guess, if you're setting up a society, then you need Master, because you're right. I mean, he's the guy who really understands the plumbing and the engineering behind the methane and the pigs and to keep all the all the lights on, literally. So if you're setting up a society, you're right. You do need that sort of Thomas Edison guy. But what's interesting to me is, Max is never trying to set up a society.
That's true. Max would be perfectly happy being by himself.
Yeah.
He's like the definition of nomadic.
I'm still stuck on the part where why do we need Master at all? I know that he's got skills. I know that he knows how stuff works. I know that he can control Auntie. And of course, everybody's moral ambiguous, but everybody's still out for themselves. So I don't know that Max has anything on him at all. I don't think that Max has any leverage at all. So we've got a nomad with no power over a master. So I can't quite reconcile these ideas.
What if, let me ask you this. So Max broke the law. So what is it? Break a deal, get the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. So he spins the wheel, and it's fair and square. He gets the gulag.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Okay. So the gulag is you're just sent out into the middle of nowhere. Now, that's your punishment. Just that action. You're sent out into the middle of nowhere with a big-ass mask on your head, backwards cuffed on the horse, the end.
Right. Which is a real waste of a horse, by the way.
It is a real waste of the horse, but rules are rules. So, why can't he return and talk to Auntie and he's still around? And she'd be like, hey, what are you doing here? He'd be like, no, what do you mean? Rules are rules. I spun the wheel. I did the crime. I paid the time. The end.
I got gulagged, and now I'm back.
I got gulagged, and now what's up, Auntie? I'm here. Knock, knock. Why don't you play a happy tune for me, Mr. Saxophone Man?
Earlier in the story, Max, I guess, interprets the situation that being gulagged means that he's been banished, like banned from ever returning, more or less kicked out of the club.
Sure.
And so the whole idea of sneaking back in is, okay, I need to find someone who is more or less on the outs with Auntie as much as I perceive myself to be. Well, the person he immediately thinks of is Master. And I don't think, given the option, Max would say, hey, we need to take Master out of this place. I think the idea was find Master, extort Master for resources, basically walking up to him and saying, hey, I was nice to you, be nice to me, give me food, and then we'll leave. I think the whole bringing Master with them was all just Pig Killer taking over the situation.
But who's the one guy in Bartertown who's not going to have food? You're like the prisoner, Master. I mean, I get if you're like, hey, these kids need somebody to set up their, to really pimp out their oasis. It's pretty nice diggins as it is now, but then, that makes sense to me. It was like, we need to get, we need to get a captain of of industry here with regards to, getting this place running and the electricity, etc. Maybe even get the plane working.
It could also be that Max was under the idea that with Blaster gone, that Master would still be more or less in charge of Underworld.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know just how low Auntie had humbled Master. Like, she bumped him all the way down to lower middle management.
You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any power right now. So Max shows up and suddenly he sees the guy that he's looking for in a cage. And he's like, oh, okay, he might not be able to help me as much, but I'm still going to try because I got to get these kids back to the Oasis before the babysitter starts charging extra.
Well, and I would have to see the laws on the book under, quote, gulag.
Yeah.
Because you're right. If you're permanently exiled, well, then no, of course you're not welcome back and you can't even show your face again. So that does make sense. Of course you'd have to sneak in.
Yeah, I know the wheel has a very limited amount of space on it, but I feel like they could have chiseled in some fine print.
Right. That's right.
better explain it.
I think the fine print is whatever Auntie wants it to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, there is one section of that wheel that specifically says Auntie's choice, but let's be real here. The entire wheel is Auntie's choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's particularly hard to translate what happens after gulag because the term gulag isn't really even used correctly.
Nope.
So that's not even what it means. So how are we supposed to know what they expect to happen or what happens if he doesn't die? No clue, because it's not a correct term.
They probably didn't write those rules down. Good point.
No, probably not. Quick side note, one thing I wanted to touch on in this minute is the game that Ironbar is playing, because there are 4 guards down here. There's Ironbar, there's a guy with a big old feathery headdress, and then there are 2 other individuals. And I took this footage because the scene here is very dark. They're in Underworld, there's not a lot of light. So I boosted the gamma settings so you could actually see what's going on. And I believe I emailed you a copy of that boosted light setting video through the email. So if you got to take a look at it, that's where it is. It's in the email inbox. But you can actually see that the 2 guards on the left side that Ironbar is competing against, those are the people who operate the crank for Auntie's elevator, which is why the guy on the left, his arm is literally twice the size of Ironbar's arm, which just makes no sense as to why Ironbar is holding his own against this dude.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Guess I missed that.
I'm thinking that, Ironbar's, like, headdress, I think has something to do with his, I mean, that guy's got super mojo, super strength, you know what I mean, for his diminutive stature. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if it's a little bit like one of those Samson things.
Like, as long as he wears that kabuki mask on his back, he has the strength and vitality to survive.
Yeah. Either that, or I thought he's like, I wonder if that's kind of the dime store master blaster.
Oh my gosh.
Like, he couldn't really find somebody to actually, to co-op up with,
Yeah.
to actually become hybridy. Mm-hmm. So he did this kabuki mask thing behind it, and it's kind of like the cheapo, the dollar store version.
It's like a hobby horse. It's like riding a broom, like a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Instead of that's his dollar store version of a master blaster.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous is a good name for this game that they're playing too, because the whole idea is that you're pulling down on a handle, and above the handles are metal spikes. And so the idea is that you pull your opponent's hand into the spikes as a way of punishing them. And I guess the person who survives the longest getting holes punched in their hand is the one that wins, I guess.
It seemed like a game you could only play once.
Yeah.
Or I should say it seems like a game you could only you could only lose once.
Right. Good point.
Yeah.
This is the kind of game where if they had this for Stallone's Over the Top, it would have made for a much more interesting movie.
Oh, good point. You're right.
But I wanted to bring up this game today because it is going to factor very heavily into Wednesday's Minute.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure we got it out of the way.
Very good.
We pretty much wrap this minute with the guards sitting underneath that strength game that we were talking about, and they are looking up at Scrooloose because he has given away his position with all of the waving and the monkey squealing. And so we're going to put a pin in this and come back to it on Wednesday. In the meantime, Gerry, is there anything you would like to plug, any place you would like to point people to go check out?
Oh, certainly. My sister and I and my co-host Tom and Pete have a podcast that's similar to your guys's, where we go through the Indiana Jones movies 1 minute at a time, and talk about all the fun and the silliness and the seriousness and God and archaeology, the whole thing. We have a good time. It's called the Indiana Jones Minute, and you can find us there, indianajonesminute.com. We also have a Facebook page, Indiana Jones Minute Listeners Crusade, where we have, everybody kind of chimes in with their ridiculous theories and just, general exchange of ideas. It's actually a lot of fun. And that's how I met you guys.
So definitely check out the Indiana Jones Minute. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. As for us, we are going to come back on Wednesday. Skyfish will show up to whisk Scrooloose away from the guards, but as the guards give chase to the intruders, their most dangerous adversary may actually be coming from the one place they've overlooked. So come back, because mystery, cliffhanger, ooh. The Mad Max Minute podcast is a fan project by Rick and Julia Ingham.
The Mad Max franchise was created by George Miller and Byron Kennedy, is presented by Kennedy Miller Mitchell Productions, and distributed by Warner Brothers.
Mad Max Minute is produced and edited by Rick Ingham. Our opening music is Verdi's Dies Irae by Daniel Batista of danielbatista.com. And our outro music is We Don't Need Another Hero by MilitiaVox of militiavox.com.
Our home on the internet is madmaxminute.com. You can follow us on Twitter at madmaxminute, like us on Facebook by searching for Mad Max Minute, and join our Facebook listener group, Mad Max Minute Beyond Microphone.
If you'd like to support the podcast, visit madmaxminute.com, where you can check out our TeePublic storefront by clicking the store link, join our Patreon by clicking the support link, or make a one-time donation by clicking the donate link.
Thank you for joining us for Minute 76 of Beyond Thunderdome. We'll see you next time.